40, 2005, TV, newspapers, 4 categories, the number. This graph gives internet. The largest number can be found in 2005, which is around 60%. The smallest number can be found in 2001, which is around 40%. For radio, the largest number can be found in 2001, which is around 63%. The smallest number can be found in 2005, which is around 40%. In summary, the number of radio is larger than the number of TV. The new food pyramid in 1970s. On the top of the pyramid is dessert and cake. On the bottom is bread and rice. This graph gives information about the new food pyramid. For 1970s, on the top of the pyramid, we can see a dessert. On the bottom of the pyramid, we can see bread and rice. However, for 2010s, on the top of the pyramid, we can see rice and bread. On the bottom of the pyramid, we can see veggies and fruits, such as apple, banana. In summary, there are 2 pictures in this graph. Drinking habits by age in US. Heavy drinker, never drinker, ex-drinker, light drinker. For 16 and 24, never drinker, which is around 61. Health drinker, which is around 10% in percentage. This graph gives information about drinking habits by age in US in percentage. For 16 and 24, the largest number can be found in never drinker, which is around 61%. The smallest number can be found in heavy drinker, which is around 10%. For 25 to 34, the largest number can be found in never drinker, which is around 55. The smallest number can be found in ex-drinker, which is around 8%. In summary, the number for 35 to 44, the number of never drinker is larger than the number of light drinker. Mean salary of first degree graduates by gender. For women, the largest number 2012 to 13 around 19,500. For men, this graph gives information about the mean salary of first degree graduates by gender. For women, the largest number can be found in 2012 and 2013, which is around 19,500. The smallest number can be found in 2008 and 9, which is around 19,000. For male, the largest number can be found in 2012 to 13, which is around 21,500. Fuck. 我嘴怎么瓢成这样？我真气死了。
Community service is an important component of education here at our university. We encourage all students to volunteer for at least one community activity before they graduate. A new community program called One-on-One helps elementary students who've fallen behind. You education majors might be especially interested in it because it offers the opportunity to do some teaching, that is, tutoring in math and English. You'd have to volunteer 2 hours a week for one semester. You can choose to help a child with math, English, or both. Half-hour lessons are fine. so you could do half hour of each subject, 2 days a week. Professor Dodge will act as a mentor to these tutors. He'll be available to help you with the lesson plans or to offer suggestions for activities. He has office hours every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. You can sign up for the program with him and begin the tutoring next week. I'm sure you'll enjoy this community service and you'll gain valuable experience at the same time. It looks good on your resume too, showing that you've had experience with children and that you care about your community. If you'd like to sign up or have any questions, stop by Professor Dodge's office this week.
The speaker gives information about community service is important part of in university. Firstly, the speaker mentioned that he suggests to complete at least one community service before they graduate. Besides, the speaker mentioned about opportunities, which is related to do teaching tutorials in English or math. Besides, the speaker mentioned about help children with English or math or both. Besides, the speaker mentioned about professor, which is related to tutors and office hours.你们可以感受到我的紧张吗？我真的是超级紧张，我怎么会这么紧张
The impact on young Australians who are interested in buying a home of their own has been very significant. Australia's housing affordability now shapes the typical housing cycle or housing career, as some people call it. Most Australians in the normal course of events are people who move through the housing cycle in a way that matches the stages of life that they are at. So, they move out of the family home in their late teens or early 20s as they gain independence from their families. Then, they rent, save for a home they can afford as either a group or maybe in a couple. And maybe they can upgrade it when they have a family in their middle age. They are more than likely to have paid off their mortgage. And that means they have housing security in their old age. That's no longer the typical housing cycle for Australians. Young people generally live at home for much longer than they once did. They generally rent for longer and they're more likely to be saddled with a mortgage, not just into their middle age, but more often than not into their retirement as well. In fact, in 2006, 65,000 retiree households were still paying off the mortgage. Affordable rent is also an elusive right around Australia. We have very low rental vacancies. We see high turnover as landlords want to maximise their profits in tight markets. And we see less long-term or lifelong rental as we see in other countries and other economies.
The speaker gives information about the impact of buying a home in Australia. Firstly, the speaker mentioned about the Australia housing affordability. Besides, the speaker mentioned about most Australians cannot match the stage of the life they are living in. Besides, the speaker mentioned about get independent from family. Besides, the speaker mentioned about savings. Besides, the speaker mentioned about pay off mortgage and housing security in old age. Besides, the speaker mentioned most Australians are now live longer with families and rent longer, even in their middle age.
Three people are discussing reviewing a tutorial discussion at university.
So, about yesterday's tutorial, I felt like the discussion on the economic impact of climate change was a bit scattered. We started strong, but then we kind of jumped around a lot between different areas without really going deep into any one. I think it made it hard to follow the main points sometimes, don't you think?
Thanks for that feedback, Sarah. I was trying to touch on lots of different economic areas just to give a broad overview, because I knew we'd go into more detail in the lectures. Maybe I brought up too many smaller topics too fast, though. What specific parts do you think we should have spent more time on?
Yeah, I agree with Sarah a bit. It did feel a little all over the place sometimes. But then again, I found the part about changes in farming really interesting, even though it was quick. I also think some people weren't joining in as much as they could have, which might have made it feel more scattered, since we didn't get enough different ideas coming out.
Exactly, Aria. I think not having lots of different people chipping in was a big reason. Like when we talked about renewable energy, it was mostly just a couple of people speaking. Maybe if we'd set it up with specific roles or had questions ready for everyone, it could have got more people involved and thinking harder as a group.
That's a really good idea, Sarah. I've been thinking about different ways to make sure everyone gets to speak without having to force it. Maybe for the next tutorial, I could give out some short research points beforehand, or ask everyone to come ready with one specific question about the topic. That would give us a better way to start the discussion.
Oh, I'd really like that. Having to think of a question or specific point beforehand would definitely make me feel more ready to jump into the discussion. Sometimes I'm just not sure where to start, and that little push at the beginning would be so helpful. It could really help our conversations go more smoothly.
Me too. And maybe after a tutorial, we could have a quick 2-minute chat just to see if there are any last questions or things that still aren't clear. That way, we don't have to wait till the next class to clear things up, and it helps us keep up with the whole course material.
Great ideas, both of you. I'm writing these down for our future tutorials. Making sure everyone feels comfortable joining in and that our discussions are clear and helpful is really important for how you learn. Thanks for being so open and giving such helpful feedback.
No problem, Professor. I think these changes would really help a lot. We really appreciate that you're so open to our ideas and want to make the tutorials even better for us. It feels like what we say actually matters, which is great.
A group of 3 people are discussing about tutorial discussion. Firstly, the first speaker mentioned about economic impact on climate change. Besides, the first speaker mentioned about the topic is not deep enough and didn't get the main points. Besides, the second speaker mentioned about broad overview and lectures, which is related to small topics and too fast. Besides, by agreeing with the previous speaker, the third speaker mentioned about all over the place. However, the third speaker mentioned about changes in tutorials are interesting. Besides, the third speaker mentioned about not get enough ideas. Besides, the first speaker mentioned about not enough people talking, only a few people talks. Besides, the first speaker mentioned about roles and think deeper in group. By agreeing with the previous speaker, the second speaker mentioned about everyone speak. Besides, the second speaker mentioned about research points and topic. Besides, by agreeing with the previous speaker, the third speaker mentioned about questions which was related to not get ready. Besides, the third speaker mentioned about beginning conversation which is related to smoothly. Besides, the first speaker mentioned about 2 minutes chat and which is related to keep up. By agreeing with the previous speaker, the second speaker mentioned about conversation for everyone to comfortable to join and understand the lecture. In summary, the third speaker mentioned about tutorial chats will help a lot and they feeling what they say is mattered.
Three students are discussing experiences in shared housing at university.
Honestly, living in a shared flat has been a bit of an adjustment for me. The biggest issue I've had is definitely the different levels of cleanliness among my flatmates. It's really hard to relax when the common areas, especially the kitchen, are often left messy after someone cooks, and nobody seems to want to clean up.
Yeah, I totally get that, Aria. I had a similar problem last year. My flatmates were super chill, which was great. But chill often meant never doing the dishes. We ended up making a cleaning rota, and even then, it was a constant battle to get everyone to stick to it.
Wow, you guys are making me feel lucky. My current flat is actually pretty good on the cleaning front, which is a huge relief. But we've had a few clashes over noise, especially late at night. Some of my flatmates love to be loud, and it's hard to focus on studies when there's a mini party happening just down the hall.
Oh, the noise issue is real too. I've had to buy noise-canceling headphones just to get any peace and quiet to study. It feels like there's no clear boundary between social time and quiet time, and sometimes I just need a quiet space to concentrate without feeling like I'm being a party pooper.
Noise is definitely the big issue in shared living. We had one flatmate who'd game until 3 a.m. with his headset on, but his shouting would echo through the thin walls. We eventually had a sit-down about it, and things improved a bit, but it really showed how important open communication is from the start.
Open communication is key. I've learned that the hard way. Besides the noise, one thing I found tricky was the shared fridge situation. People would just eat your food, or not label anything, and it led to some awkward conversations. I wish we'd set up some ground rules about groceries and kitchen space right at the beginning.
That's a good point, Matilda. Setting expectations early seems really important. We didn't really have a proper chat about anything before moving in, and I think that's where a lot of the issues come from. I've learned I definitely need to ask about cleaning habits and noise preferences when looking for future flatmates.
Absolutely. A pre-move-in chat about lifestyles would save so much hassle. Also, budgeting for shared utilities and communal items can be tricky. We had a few arguments over who used more electricity or who should replace the toilet paper. It's the small things that add up and cause problems.
Yeah. It's all about finding people who are compatible with your living style, isn't it? If I live in another shared house, I'd probably suggest a flat meeting early on to discuss all these possible problems, from cleaning schedules to quiet hours, and even a food labeling system. It just makes things so much smoother.
这挺好玩的。A group of 3 people are discussing the experience in a shared housing in university. Firstly, the first speaker mentioned about adjustment, which is related to different level of cleanness. Besides, the first speaker mentioned about common area, such as kitchen not cleaned up. Besides, by agreeing with the previous speaker, the second speaker mentioned about flatmate, which is related to cleaning rotation. Besides, the third speaker mentioned about good flatmates, which is related to clash related to loud. Besides, the third speaker mentioned about how to focus on study. Besides, the first speaker mentioned about no clear boundaries between quiet time and party time. Besides, the second speaker mentioned about issue which is related to sit down and improved. Besides, the second speaker mentioned about open communication. By agreeing with the previous speaker, the third speaker mentioned that open communication is the key. Besides, the third speaker mentioned about shared fridge situation, which is related to groceries and kitchen space. Besides, the first speaker mentioned about expectations before moving in, which is related to proper chat and cleaning habits. Besides, the second speaker mentioned about lifestyle, which is related to share utilities and small things. Besides, the third speaker mentioned about being compatible with living styles. Besides, the third speaker mentioned about clean schedules and quiet time, which is related to a smoother experience. In summary, a group of 3 people are discussing about their experiences in shared housing at university. 累死我了。You're working on a group assignment with 3 classmates, and you've all been meeting.
You are working on a group assignment with 3 classmates, and you've all been meeting in person after class. This week your schedule is really tight, and it would be easier for you to meet online. You see the group in the hallway and want to suggest the change. What do you say to them?
Hello everyone, I really need to discuss the situation with you. I understand we are all working on a group assignment, and I have been meeting. We will all be meeting in person after class. But this week, my schedule is already full, and it will be easier for me to meet online. I just wondering if everyone can change to meet online. I understand the group is already in the hallway, so I would really appreciate if you could help me with that. 我说的啥呀? The deadline for your assignment is approaching, but your computer is broken and you want to ask your tutor for an extension. What will you say?
The deadline for your assignment is approaching, but your computer is broken and you want to ask your tutor for an extension. What would you say?
Hi, tutor. I'm really concerned about current situation. I just wondering, could you allow me to request an extension for my assignment? Hi, tutor. I really need to discuss this situation with you. Here is the situation. I understand the deadline for my assignment is approaching. However, my computer is broken, so I just wondering if you can allow me to extend my assignment deadline. I would really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Oh, 我天哪！我头好痛，简秋，我的头好痛！哎，我的天哪！哎，我这个小心脏，我对你没有什么印象，对不起。I will be fine. It's okay. It's not a big deal.
For thousands of years, philosophers and astronomers and thinkers of all sorts have imagined that the universe, the space around us, was rather like this floor.
这我做过，不想做了。
If you're ever worried that you've had one too many drinks after a night of bar hopping, you might want to ask yourself, are my ears ringing? Because it turns out that when the music gets loud, we tend to drain our mug of brew faster. That's according to a study to be published in the journal Alcoholism, Clinical and Experimental Research. Researchers staked out 2 bars in the west of France and observed drinking habits of 40 patrons. With permission from bartenders, the scientists pumped up the volume of a top 40 station from 72 to 88 pounding decibels. In this ear-splitting din of pop music, patrons drank more in less time. While it's been known that music played in the mall can influence consumer behavior, this study is the first to take that theory to the bar scene. The researchers speculate loud music may energize and excite bar hoppers, making them more likely to binge. Or they say perhaps it was just too loud to talk, so people focused instead on their pint-sized companions. Either way, if you're trying to cut back on your beer, might I suggest an earplug chaser?
哦，真的假的？我知道你这个名字，但是我确实不记得你这个人了，sorry。我有印象这个名字。所以呢，毕业回来了吗？回国了吗？干什么啊？放尊重一点。Oh my god！ 我真的刚刚一整个人心脏都在狂跳，抖得厉害。怎么会这样呢？怎么会这样呢？怎么会这样呢 ？Oh my god！ 我这个今天一天的心情起起伏伏的，真的是，我真的太恐怖了，太恐怖了。哦，天呐，谢谢你以前陪我学习，我觉得是你们陪伴我。我的天呐，我是不是有一点冷啊？所以才会这样 ？Oh my god！ 啊！哎我的妈呀，我的心到现在都在哭哭乱跳，狂跳！啊！我的心扑通扑通的狂跳。怎么回事啊！我的天呐，我真是服了。啊！天呐，头晕晕的。啊，晕死我了！啊，我的头好痛，本宫的头好痛。怎么看我的答案啊？怎么看我考的如何？哇！哎呀！哎，我天！也有可能是因为我后来喝了个什么喝了个，吃了个喝了，哎，不会成绩没出来吧？我的成绩呢？我靠，我会生气的，如果是这样的话。